fait noir comme dans Saint-Domingue.
Go ahead and start with a little
Il fait
review.
noir comme dans le
So
cul
we
de
always
nous.
want to think about our second toe or
Il fait
pointer
noir
finger
comme dans
going
Saint-Domingue.
and that lines up
Il
with
fait noir dans mon cul.
eye.
Il fait noir dans la rue. Il fait noir. Il fait noir dans
And our
mon
knees
cul.
are going to
Il
be
fait
lined
noir dans la rue.
at all
Il fait
times.
noir.
So whenever we're doing motion throughout our days or other exercises, the thing we want to think about is when we're twisting or not twisting on purpose. Our knees not from widening or creasing, especially as we're doing bending motions. Yeah? And hopefully gluteus maximus, external rotator, and gluteus minimus and medius live in the side of your hip. So all of those things help you hold your knee in alignment.
Il fait noir comme dans le cul de nous.
Internal quadriceps.
Il fait noir comme dans Saint-Domingue. Il fait noir comme dans le cul de nous. Il fait noir.
So when you're doing squats,
comme dans Saint-Domingue.
think about tracking that knee over that bottom of your toe and then like and you should feel your we have generally the deepest connection. Yeah? So if you think about side bending or that also happens by your internal and external obliques. So diagonally across the body. The direction that your internal obliques so internal obliques go this way, external obliques go that way. And your rectus abdominis is the most well-known abdominal muscle. So it goes vertically from your pubis up to your ribcage. And it's what you think of when you visualize someone with like an 8-pack. That's your rectus abdominis. And its job is to erect your spine, whoop, so it pulls you up and it also pulls you into a crunch. So your rectus abdominis curls your torso inward. And then the most important abdominal muscle for core fitness and Pilates classes is your transversus abdominis. And this is the most important muscle, especially for back pain, because your transversus abdominis works exactly like a girdle. And so it attaches all along the top of your pelvis all the way around. There's even part of it here. And the muscle striation, the direction of the muscle cells, is it goes sideways. So when they contract, they squeeze in like a big hug, yeah? So some people call this your TA muscle, transversus abdominis, and it works like a girdle. And the reason why it's important in the back, remember, is because the more, and go ahead and do your Pilates scoop, as we call it in Pilates and core fitness classes. It's also known in yoga as your Uddiyana Bandha, so it's been around for a long time, this idea. But when we engage that core muscle, what it does is that it puts some spreading tension along the lower back so that as you're bouncing and running around in your normal day, you're keeping a little bit of space between those lower back muscles. All right, so rectus abdominis erects your body. Obliques side bend and twist your body. Transversus abdominis holds your organs in and supports your lower back. And remember, when we were starting this class, this is kind of a fun thing to think about, that we all were just learning to kind of hold the whole thing in. And I was making that joke about pulling the bottom in and pulling the top in and letting the bottom out and letting the top out, and how that eventually becomes a pretty funny party trick. So can you do that fun party trick now? Because I think for most of us, it's easier to activate the upper part of your rectus abdominis, which would be from your belly button up to your ribs, but getting the action to go from squeezing together from your belly button, which is where my thumb is, down to your pubis is a really powerful way to support your pelvic floor and your lower back, especially those last or first two vertebrae right above your sacrum. It's a mystery, right?
Yeah, you might have to restart. And
Thank
can't
you.
do that.
Thank you. Well, we tried, guys. No music today. It's very sad. So funny. Jaden, can you hear the music on your end if I play? Can you hear music out there? It's playing right now, but it's not playing on my speakers.
Je peux pas croire qu'on est rendu là, Mathieu.
Oh,
Nobody can hear anything.
Oh yes, ma chum, prépare-toi, on s'en va faire un grand cri de hit.
so you can hear it or you cannot hear
Il
it?
fait noir comme dans le cul de nous.
Yeah,
cannot.
you can.
Il fait noir comme dans Saint-Domingue.
Okay.
Il fait
I'm just gonna
noir
have to
comme dans
restart
le
at the
cul.
end of this class and we'll just make do. But hey, it's a review day, so maybe that's the point. Okay. We also talked a lot this semester about your pelvic floor, right? Which is all those muscles that kind of hang out underneath here that hold you together so that you don't have to wear adult diapers when you grow up. Ah, that's something to strive for. So we want to think about lifting up and in that pelvic floor, and that's sort of the first layer of activity that we do is we lift the pelvic floor up and in. Sometimes it's helpful to think of it like a basket, and then if you think of a hot air balloon, like the basket is your pelvic floor, and then you're going to imagine all of these being like the strings up to the balloon, and the rib cage is the balloon, and the balloon just like floats you slightly forward. Some people find that helpful, yeah? So in and up pelvic floor, Pilates scoop in. Rib cages, we want to not have them be totally either splayed apart, if these are where my ribs are, where my fingers are, nor do we want to be collapsed and slouched entirely forward. And a lot of that action has to do with the weight of your arms. So if we're talking about our posture up here, then, and while you're listening to me talk, feel free to move all of these things because it helps your muscle memory to move while you're remembering these terms. So our rib cage should be gently connected together, slightly shifted forward because it helps our weight go forward, which makes a little bit more space for the lower back there. And we want our shoulder blades to be both sliding towards the spine and sliding down. So I think about my shoulder blades as like almost like I'm tucking my angel wings into the back. So it's a little secret that you're an angel, right? You only are a devil by day. So your shoulders are tucked in and down back together, and that helps you to have this open chest. And the more that we have an open chest, the more that we have a relaxed set of pectoral muscles, and the more that our pectoral muscles are relaxed, the more then that we can relax these trapezius, which often do way too much work when we're slouching. Moving on up, your nape of your neck, which is this place where the top of your shoulders meet the cervical spine. The nape of the neck often gets into this lumpy, I guess it's called a dowager's hump. What a horrible thing to say. This lumpy thing happens because we slouch and your body naturally looks up to the horizon or the computer screen, right? So we call this action chin poke. Yeah, and what we want is to draw the chin, the jaw, back so that the whole weight of the skull is over the rib cage. And when we combine that with having our shoulders back, then we end up with a nice long neck. And you'll notice my neck is still slightly curved. It should be slightly curved, just like your lower back should be slightly curved. But for the most part, the cushiness that we all have on our bodies is gonna absorb most of that. So it looks pretty straight. Looks pretty straight, yeah? All right, so neck is aligned. Our chin is no longer poked. Instead, I'm thinking about either my ears or the back of my skull, the crown of my skull rising up. And last but not least, our pelvic clock. And I wanted to save this one because it's also got our, I'm looking for a prop here. It's also got our hip flexors in this location. And the most important hip flexor is your psoas. Oh, I just found out where all the books are. Okay, so let's use this towel to represent where your psoas goes. So your hip flexors, there's your psoas, which is also known as iliopsoas, because each side has two parts to it. So let's take a little windy. So your iliopsoas muscle, it attaches on the inside top of the thigh bone here. Yeah. And so I'm just going to hook it under there so we kind of have a guesstimate of where it is. And then it splits into two sections. One part of it attaches along the ridge of your hip bone. Yeah, so along the ridge of your pelvis or your iliac crest, which is what that's called. And the other section of it goes through your body and attaches to your lower four vertebrae. I know, it does. It looks like a double strap underwear here. Yeah. But at least you can see it. Sometimes I have like a black cloth and nobody can see what I'm talking about. So the thing about your iliopsoas, aka sumo belt, is that if your iliopsoas is short, and we sometimes use the word tight to refer to that, then what it does is it pulls your waist and lower lumbar spine forward, which causes your pelvis to anteriorly rotate, aka sticking your booty out in the 6 o'clock pelvic position if we're using Pilates terminology. So a tight or short psoas will cause you to stick your booty out and will put a bunch of unnecessary pressure on the lower lumbar spine. So when we're walking around or just standing, then all of that shock of bouncing and standing goes into those joints and they get very tired and achy. And this short psoas situation is an extremely common reason for back pain. So we want to lengthen those, and we want to think about not getting stuck doing our activities in this 6 o'clock pelvis, but instead to lengthen the tailbone down, lift the pubis up so that we end up with a neutral pelvis or even a 12 o'clock pelvis, depending on what we're doing. So 12 o'clock is slightly anteriorly rotated. We don't really want to hang out like that all the time. Of course, you've got an iliopsoas on the other side as well. So then it really looks like your sumo underwear. Excellent. Sumo belts for all. Okay, so to recap our review of pertinent muscles, we have iliopsoas that attach to your lower back and your thigh, and they control flexion of the hips and also can pull your back unnecessarily forward and put you into hyperextension, which we don't want to do. Fun fact, do you notice that when my back goes into hyperextension, so too do my knees? Watch this action. See that? So that locking of the knees, we can also counterbalance that by lifting up our medial or interior quadriceps. Yeah? We think about aligning our knees over our second toe by using both our hips, gluteus medius minimus, external rotators, which happen underneath here, and nice strong quadriceps, which you can sometimes think of instead of the feeling of locking your knees back. Remember, look at when I locked my knees, my hips went boop. You can think about lifting your kneecaps up by using these medial quadriceps. That helps some people. Also, if you feel this, I think most of us who lock our knees out of habit don't know when we're doing it anymore because it just feels normal. So if you think about softening the knees, and for me, it helps me to think about pressing my weight forward a little bit into the ball of the feet. So I'm going to exaggerate here, but when I think about instead of my weight going back into my heels and locking out those knees, but I think about lifting up the knees and slightly shifting forward, that really helps me to get out of that joint, to make a little space in there. All right, knees, quads, psoas, gluteus medius, minimus, and gluteus maximus, which of course lifts your leg back. Rectus abdominis, erexio oblique is twisting and side bending. Transversus abdominis is in and out and in and out. Shoulders, we didn't talk about the names of the big muscles that help you, because there are so many muscles that live subscapularis, your scapula, your shoulder blades. There's really a lot of muscles back there, and they all have kind of unique names rather than a group name. Like your external rotators is really 6 muscles, but we have a name for them. So I am not calling that out on your final, but do think about your shoulder blades going together towards each other, down and back, like you're tucking in your wings, yeah? Open chest, wide, soft, long pectoral muscles, chin gathers in, so the back of the skull lifts up and your chin comes in just a little bit. Like I always feel like it's making another chin, even though it's not, just because we're used to having your chin poke out. And then here's another fun idea is I like to think about making space in your neck here as making room for your pirate earrings. So like big dangly, I always used to picture Jack Sparrow, you know, he had like a bunch of decorations here. He's kind of uncouth now, but he's a character, right? So Captain Jack Sparrow, pirate earrings, and a long lifted body. All right, I think that is your anatomy review for our core fitness class. So let's go ahead and pop down on the floor and let's go through some of the Pilates exercises actually that we really commonly have used in this class, although I haven't always referred to them as such. That's where they come to. All right. First things first, your Pilates scoop. We let it out and we pull it in, and we let it out and we pull it in, and we let it out and pull it in, let it out and pull it in, let it out and pull it in. And that is your transversus abdominis muscle contracting and releasing. Let's go ahead and come to all fours. Remember, in our all fours alignment, we want to think about the palm being directly underneath the shoulder. And just like with our knees, we're softening the elbows a little bit so we're not hyperextending those elbows, but instead we're keeping them just a little bit soft so that there's space in that joint. Our shoulder blades, let's do shoulder blade push-ups. So we're thinking about letting our shoulders shrug up and relax, and this drops your spine down. And then we're going to anchor our shoulders down and back. And it even lets them get a little wider than we expect, yeah? So moving through those shoulders, mobility. There is, in about 10% of the people, I'm not one of them, a thing called winging of the scapula, where you're so flexible here that your shoulder blades basically like pop way out like wings. So if that's you, it's okay. It's different, but it's not dangerous. All right, let's get back to our cores. So we're going to do our Pilates scoop. I'm going to make my shirt tight since we're talking about Pilates scoop. We're going to drop it and pull it back in. Drop it and pull it back in. And drop it and pull it back in. Go ahead and relax that Pilates scoop. Shake your hips around a little bit. And let's do cat-cow from yoga for a moment. So your whole spine bending and arching. And then now that we've kind of checked in with that mobility, let's see if we can find a nice flat back here. Please excuse the lump of my mic pack. Nice flat back here. And then I want you to start re-engaging your pelvic floor. So we're going to lift that basket up, pulling the string up through the body. And then we're going to lift in our Pilates scoop. And then we're going to release the Pilates scoop and release the pelvic floor. And pelvic floor in, Pilates scoop in, Pilates scoop out, pelvic floor out. So this is like a coordination activity we're doing here. Right? Most of us find that as we drop the Pilates scoop, the pelvic floor automatic releases. And we want to keep that pelvic floor engaged when we want to, so that you can separate those two movements. Pelvic floor out, pelvic floor in, Pilates scoop out, but now your pelvic floor, release the pelvic floor. In, release, release. In, release, release. I guess we could say up, in, release, release, up, in. All right. Holding on to that shape, let's change our lower back. When the pelvis tucks underneath, as in the cat position in yoga, meow, like a Halloween cat, yes? We're trying to tuck that tailbone all the way underneath, and that would be a 12 o'clock pelvis position. Yeah, we come to neutral, keeping our Pilates scoop in and our pelvic clock engaged. Neutral spine is flat. It might have a little bit of downness in an x-ray, but to the naked eye, it looks flat. Yes, so neutral spine. And then go ahead and arch. This is your 6 o'clock position. It's party time. Work is over at 6 o'clock. That's how I remember which one is which, yeah? You're sticking it out like you're going dancing. Okay, neutral and 12 and neutral and 6. Can you do your pelvic clock movements without changing your upper back and without losing your pelvic floor engagement or your Pilates scoop engagement? All right, come back down center. So we're in our neutral spine with our Pilates scoop in and our pelvic floor lifted, and we're going to do alternate hand and feet. So tabletop exercise, we're going to slide them out and bring them back in. And the tricky part is not lifting them, it's transferring your weight from one side to the other without any movement at all in that tabletop. I like to think about being the table at the Mad Hatter's tea party and how like you can't move at all because if you slosh the tea, then they'll start singing clink up, move down, clink up, move down. Well, we don't want that, right? Because she still hasn't used her cup. All right. Alice in Wonderland fans, rejoice. And out. And down. And out. And down. And I can see that my lower back is starting to drift downward a little bit, so I'm re-engage. Really thinking about lengthening through the top of my skull. Checking in again with my Pilates scoop. Let's go ahead and come on back. All right, to the floor with us. We're gonna come down to parallel legs, parallel knees, lined up with your hip sockets. Nice way to check your feet is that one toe should be able to touch the other with the heels staying in place. We're going to imagine a personal-sized cheesecake between our knees, so we're gently squeezing our knees together to keep them in line. We're going to do roll down, so we curve the pelvic clock towards 12 in 3 stages, 2, 3, and we rise back up. That's it for roll downs. 3, and a 2, and a 1. Coming up, and a 3, and a 2, and a 1. Coming up. How is your pelvic floor? Could you be pulling it up some more? Are you maybe squishing it out? Because that's not the direction we want. How are your parallel thighs? Could they be more aligned? I'm inventing rhymes right now. I hope that makes up for us not having music. Let's hat 2 little imaginary hedgehogs and check back in with your pelvic scoop, with your Pilates scoop, your pelvic floor lifted in, and that clock, pelvic clock at 12 o'clock. Yeah, so there's 3 things going on with your pelvis that you're holding on to here. Well, it looks like you're doing nothing but petting some very cute hedgehogs. You're pulling your pelvic floor in. You're pulling your Pilates scoop in. And you're tipping your pelvis back. All right, rise up. And down we go to the floor. Move my mic pack. Let's go ahead and move through our pelvic clock now that we're on the floor because gravity makes it feel different. So first, pelvic floor in and Pilates scoop in, shoulder blades down and back. Go ahead and actively press your whole arm, elbow, shoulder, and fingertips all the way into the ground for this whole exercise for an added level of detail. We're gonna arch and neutral and curve and neutral. Pelvic clock, 6 o'clock and neutral and curve and neutral. All you're holding onto that pelvic floor lift and curve and neutral and a arch and neutral and a curve and neutral and a arch and a neutral and a curve and a neutral arch and a neutral and a curve. Stay right there. Place your hands on your hips. Let's take your right leg up, externally rotate it. Let's soften just a little bit to be sure that you can see that it's turned out not parallel, which means when you look at it, it should look like a frog leg or an attitude leg. Yes? So holding that turned out, we're going to do single leg circles, but I'd like you to place your hands on your hip bones, your iliac crest today. So we're going to move that leg up super slow. Your hands are on your pelvis so that you can feel that you're keeping your pelvis perfectly still. Remember, we pre-engage the opposite side of the abdominal wall. So you're using your oblique muscles on the opposite side to help counterbalance the weight of the leg as it goes to the side. So now your leg is going across the body in the other direction. You're going to use the opposite obliques to hold your hip down. And we slowly move around for single leg circles. Do, 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 do. We're moving our leg around in a very slow circle, lifting it up with an isolated pelvis. Down we go. How's your Pilates scoop? Are we pressing into the mat with that lower back? I hope. How is your other leg? One thing I notice is that when my working leg is going out to the side, sometimes your body counterbalances by flopping your bent floor leg out to the side, but we want to keep that pointed up at the ceiling. One more time, bringing it up. And let's switch legs. This is your left leg, you're moving it out and in. Sorry, this is your right leg. I don't know which leg it is. It's your other leg. It's my left leg. All right, holding it on. We're gonna lift it up in the turned out position. We're gonna pre-engage the opposite side as the leg goes out to the side. We're going to take the leg down nice and slow, lifting that pelvic floor up even more. Let the body stay still as the leg slowly comes to the other side. Put your hands back on your pelvis if they've strayed and be more detail oriented about stabilizing your core. The leg goes down, the leg goes across. Nice and slow, really letting yourself feel the changes. Shoulders down, knee is wide, foot goes down, take it across, bring it up, knee goes wide, take it down and send it home. Okay, we're done with those ones. Let's come on to your left side. So your right leg is on top. We're going to take our hips in line with our shoulders and our knees way front so that our knees are in front of our hips in relationship to the room. Yeah, 90 degrees in the hips, 90 degrees in the knees. So don't tuck those suckers in. Let them be forward. We're going to do rundown of pelvic floor in, Pilates scoop in, one hip on top of the other, rib cage in, shoulders down, making long necks. You have room for your pirate earrings or for Toto from Wizard of Oz to jump through their little small dog space. Let's open up to froggy shape and close back down. Be aware of whether your hips are slightly rocking back to take that weight. It's hard. Keep the hips right on top. Open and a close and a open and close. I call this froggy and sitting in an office chair. Froggy and an office chair, a froggy and an office chair, a froggy and an office chair. Froggy. From your froggy position, we're going to straighten the legs. It'll be forward, probably on a 45-degree angle. Yes? Take a moment here. Could you turn out your thighs a little bit more? Could you squeeze your legs together a little bit more? Could you feel your heels going away from your pelvic floor? So you're lifting that pelvic floor up into your body and pressing your heels as far away. And then we're going to bend back to froggy, keeping your hips still and extend back to long mermaid tail and bring it back in. Do, do, do. Mermaid tail and open it back up. Stay right here. Can you get your hip on top of the other one and then pulse the knee open. Pulse it, pulse it, pulse it, pulse it, pulse it. Dulcet tones of pulsing. Send your legs back out. All right, we're going to do all of the side kick series that hit your external rotators first, and then we're going to hit the gluteus medius and maximus ones. All right, Making sure that you're holding your turnout for this series. You're going to lift the leg up. You're going to release the rotation. So release the turnout, pointing your knee forward, and then re-rotate. Knee goes back up to the ceiling and close. Take that foot forward. Release rotation. Externally rotate. Heels together, heels back. Release the rotation. Externally rotate. Heels together. Up. Turn it in. Turn it out and together. How's your pelvic floor? Forward, turn it in, turn it out. Heels together. How's your Pilates cube? Back, turn it in, turn it out. Heels together. Take it up, turn it in, turn it out. Heels together. Take it forward and in and out. Heels together. Take it back and in and out. Heels together. Attenuate. Pull your pelvic floor up away from those heels. Lift that leg way up in the air, and we're going to bend it. And we're going to put our hand right behind that knee, and we're going to move the knee to the hand without moving the hips. Knee to the hand, knee to the hand, knee to the hand. My big toe is hovering over my other knee. Hovering, hovering, hovering. This is your external rotation. Go ahead and take that knee all the way down and gently tap the floor with it. Check your lower leg alignment. That was your little mini break there. Use these external rotators, which go from your greater trochanter through underneath your pelvis. You're going to use those muscles to open that knee back up. And slowly, I'll put it back down. External rotators and open it back up. There are 6 of them. One of them is called piriformis. Open it up and close it back down. And open it up and close it back. Now you know where they are. Oh my goodness, right? There they are, your external rotators. Put it down. Relax. Grab a handful of marshmallows out of the sky. Tap the lactic acid out of your friends there. Tippity tappity tippity tappity tippity tappity tip. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So of course, I love music. I am a dancer and I like to do everything to the rhythm of music when we're doing workouts. But I do think it's good to take a day without music because it causes us, we're back in our office chair position, we're going to do the same thing on everything on the other side. It causes us to slow down and also to become even more mentally present with our actions. So one of the things that makes it so enjoyable to listen to music while you're working out, of course, is that you get to let your mind wander away from maybe the discomfort of your external rotators on the floor here, which are supporting your weight. That's why you can still feel them. And it generally just makes it seem like you don't have to think about like counting to 10. Who wants to do that 20 billion times in the day? Extend to your mermaid tail, right? It's distracting. But we can learn so much more by really being present, really feeling which muscles we're using or which muscles we're not using. And taking the music away and slowing down can often lead to a more beneficial workout, but you don't have to do it all the time. Moderation, right? Some people really love it. If you go to a traditional Pilates class, there might not be any music the whole time. Depends on the teacher. All right, lifting in and up, checking that alignment of one hip over the other. And we're gonna lift and parallel. Turn it out, bring it together. Take the leg to the front, parallel. Turn it out, heels together. Pinky toe leads you back, knee forward, knee out, and together. Knee goes up, knee forward. It really helps me to think about moving my thigh rather than my foot. Thigh forward, thigh up, together. Thigh back, facing forward. Turn it out, together, lift it up, facing forward, turn it out, together, take it front and forward and out, together, take it back, turn it forward, turn it out, together, lift it up, bend that knee, realign, and pulse the knee open, open, open. Notice whether you're cheating by rocking your hips back. That don't do it. Knees got to go back against the hip, and that will get your external rotators. Open and open, 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 open. It's singing, and your knee Go slowly to the floor. La 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 la. Slowly open it up. Send your body long. Pulling up your pelvic floor as you sing this song. Open that knee again and close it on down. Shoulders back. Pilates scoop in. Pelvic floor lifted. Make sure you're not pushing down, but you're lifting up. And maybe one more to grow on if you can. And take it on down. There you go. Those are your external rotators. They go from the greater trochanter, that lump on the outside of your femur. They go through and underneath that little hole in your base of your pelvis, the sits bones are. And when these muscles become inflamed or swollen or tight up in a knot, then what happens is, because they pass through this little tiny hole with your sciatic nerve, if those muscles get knotted up or inflamed, then they can press on the sciatic nerve, and that's what sciatica is. So nobody wants that. All right, before we move on, let's roll on. No, let's roll like a ball. Hands behind your thighs. Your starting position for rolling like a ball is to be lifted up through the whole torso, shoulders down, pelvic floor in. The bigger your knees are out, supposedly the easier this exercise is. I'm not sure if I believe that. But what we're going to do is tilt to 12 o'clock, curve the whole spine, rock back just to your shoulders. When we rock back forward, let your head pass your hips, and then ding, we straighten the back, and that's your breaks. Because once we begin, the toes stay off the floor. Curling, rolling like a ball, and ding, your breaks. And curling, rolling like a ball, and ding, your breaks. And curling, rolling like a ball, and ding, your breaks. One more time. Curling, rolling like a ball, and ding, your breaks. All right, let's go ahead and roll back down onto our backs. We're going to do what is in Pilates called single leg stretch. We've done it a bunch of times. I just might not have named it. So one knee is going to be bent, one leg is going to be straight. Your chest comes off a little bit, lowers down, comes up higher, and lowers all the way down to switch legs. Yeah? The thing that I want, let's go ahead and get going. We'll go up, lower, down, and higher, and to the floor. Head and shoulders are higher and to the floor. Head and shoulders higher and lower. Okay, the thing that I want to say about this exercise, single leg stretch, is that you can change the challenge level by changing, and this is true of almost all the exercises, how far out the legs are. If the weight of the legs is mostly above your pelvis and waist, it's going to be challenging, but less challenging than if you start to send them out, because the weight of your legs lower than your pelvis means it's harder to hold your neutral spine. And that's our goal in all these exercises. So I would say that knees and legs over your belly button or your hips is generally considered beginning or basic level, core starting level. Nothing wrong with that level, it's plenty challenging. Moving your feet just a little bit farther, yeah? Just like 2 inches below where your booty is beginning intermediate / intermediate. And we never even go all the way down here, because when you don't have the core strength to maintain your legs out there, then it ends up just being hip flexor tightening, which isn't bad, but it skips your abdominal strengthening, which is really the priority. And that's why I keep our workouts close to the body, is because I want you to hit your abs. If you let your legs go out here and your back comes off, all you're going to be doing is tightening those psoas, and we know how that is, right? Not particularly good for ourselves. Let's lift the pelvic floor in, Pilates scoop in. We're going to take our straight legs and we're going to do double straight leg stretch. So pressing the arms into the floor, open chest, core in. We're just going to take our toes from above your rib cage, for example. It's fine if they're a little bent, that's all right. We're going to just move them down to above the hip sockets, maybe an inch or two past the hip sockets, so that you can feel the weight of the legs and how they start to pull your waist off the floor. But don't let it happen. Belly buttons in, pelvic floors in, let those legs stray and come back. Slow motion, it's called double straight leg stretch. We take the legs out, and pelvic floor is up, and pull the legs in, and pelvic floor is up. You're hollowing out. Your belly and your shoulders are back. You keep on pulling in that core. Take it on out, long bodies, long neck. And lift those legs back in. Back up, double leg, straight leg stretch and double straight leg stretch. It is how it is. Your legs may not be straight, but you are focusing on that neutral pelvis. Do, 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 do. Put your feet on the floor. Let's remind ourselves. 6 o'clock, neutral. 12 o'clock, neutral. Check your feet are parallel, your thighs are parallel, and we'll roll up to the bridge. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Okay, the weight is in your full, complete feet evenly. Your knees and thighs should be parallel. Your hips should be parallel. I'm having a very tight quad day, so I feel like askew. So check yourself. Are you actually parallel today? Are you still pulling your pelvic floor in and up? Is your Pilates scoop nice and deep? Ribs feel like they're coming together, so we're not all the way splayed up as far as we can go. Instead, we're thinking about a contracted, a lifted and compressed torso. And our arms go down to the floor again as we roll back down in slow motion, putting one vertebrae at a time on the floor from top to bottom. Really see if you can curve to a deeper 12 o'clock so that you can touch your lower back before the weight of your booty hits the floor. And when you get there, soft legs, we go 12 o'clock, neutral, and 6 o'clock, neutral. Okay, take a pause. We're gonna move through our pelvic clock and back up and down to the bridge a few times. I want you to really take care that your pelvic floor stays in the whole time, and that while we're doing the pelvic clock, 6, neutral, 12, you're not using your legs. Once you've got to 12 o'clock, then you use your legs, your glutes and your hamstrings to push the body up, and we're still using our legs here as we hollow out and roll down. Once your lower back touches the floor, release your legs and hold that pelvic clock of 12 with your Pilates scoop and your pelvic floor in. Hold it using your torso muscles, not your legs. Then neutral and 6. Okay, with rhythm, neutral and 12. We're rolling up. Do, 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 do. Shoulders back. Do, 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 do. To the sky. And we roll down. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Find 12 o'clock, no legs, and 12 o'clock and neutral, and 6 o'clock and neutral, and 12 o'clock, and push the floor with your legs and your glutes. We're coming to the sky and down, down, downy, down, downy, downy, down. We go to 12 o'clock and neutral, and 6 o'clock and neutral, and 12 o'clock and legs, and up onto the sky. We go to the top. We're going to stay at the top this time. Go ahead and take a moment, lift your head, neck, and shoulders off the ground. Check those legs are parallel and even to the floor. And we're going to put our head back down, long neck. Hold your core in and drop the hips and push with your hips. So I'm thinking about pushing into the floor. And I'm going to watch my pelvis today because I know one leg is tight. So I don't want to be doing a little samba here on the floor. I mean, of course I want to do a little salsa motion there, but I'm going to do this exercise with equilibrium here in the pelvis. All right, roll it down. Bring both knees into your chest. Give them a loving hug. Press those babies close to your belly. All right, let's rock it up to seated. We were talking earlier about the medial quadratus, not quadratus, quadriceps, sorry. So the inside top of your thigh muscle. Go ahead and totally relax that leg onto the floor. Nothing going on. Floppy jelly legs, yes? You can support your weight back here. I'm going to even let you roll to a 12 o'clock and be totally, in fact, let's go to our elbows today. Yeah? Super, super relaxed. Notice what your body's habit is. For me, when I take it down and I just say like, whatever, I'm not paying attention to my legs, they could belong to someone else. This side always rotates out more than this side. And it's mostly just to do with my habits of tension in my musculature. It's not It can be a change in your bones, but a lot of the time it's just habit. So that means I got to work against that habit to set new habits. So I'm going to start with pelvic floor, Pilates scoop, shoulder blades back. So now I'm already working through my torso. And then I'm going to align my knees to parallel. And I'm going to think about your right leg first. I'm going to think about that thigh, straightening the leg and lifting it and putting it all the way back down and releasing. Other leg, straighten the leg, lift it all the way down, releasing. Really watch your legs, really relax all the way, and see if you can really feel that inside quadricep, especially when you think about straightening and lifting. Don't let it go wobbly wobbly. I'm exaggerating, of course. I want you to think straight up and down and real parallel. So you're going for a walk with straight legs. I'm going to reach out through my heel. I'm going to pull my core back in deeper. And think about where my pelvic floor is. And I'm going to come up to my hands now. Same idea with the straightening and all the way relaxing the leg, but let's do some repetitions. We'll go 8, 7, and a 6, and a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 8, and a 7. Make sure you drop the heel each time. 4, 3, 2, 1, and 8, and a 7, 6, and a 5, 4, 3, 2, and a 1. We got a 8, and a 7, 6, and a 5. And I'm slowing down because I feel myself starting to skip things. And the last set, each side, make it slow, make it parallel, make it lifting up with that inner thigh muscle. And our last set, left side, relax every time, really squeeze that inner thigh muscle. Ba-bam! Back to your sides, my friends. We are going to line up our hips one on top of the other. We're going to take our knees forward, but then our top leg is going to extend down. So our top leg is in line with our body. For today, we're going to lift our pelvic floor. We're going to pull our Pilates scoop in, and we're going to lift our waist off the ground. So it's like a micro side plank. Yes, shoulder blades down. This top leg is going to move the heel just above the hip and then just below the hip. As you do this exercise, your body will try to cheat by sending this whole thigh forward. Don't let it happen, friends. All right, set up that body and we'll go uppy and a down, a lifting and a lower. Are your knee and toe still facing forward? As we go up and a down, lifting and a lower with your knee and toe still facing forward. Now we are using the side of the hip, the gluteus medius and minimus. Your knee and toe are still facing forward, but not traveling forward, up and a down with that hip. You are facing forward. Okay, we're gonna draw little circles with the heel in the air. Definitely feeling that gluteus medius minimus. Drawing little circles, but your knee and toe are still facing forward. How is your side? Lift, you can release your head if your neck is getting tired, but your waist is still in. Now we're going to take that knee. It's facing forward. The hip is on top of the other hip. And we're going to keep that thigh in line with the hip as we bend that knee. Yes? Be thoughtful about how your knee feels here. Sometimes this is just really tight, okay? We don't need to be pressing it so tight that it's irritating the knee. And straighten and a bend. A straighten and a bend. If I look over my shoulder, I can see my shin is parallel with the floor, and I straighten and I bend. So now I'm adding hamstrings and a little bit of glute to keep the thigh in line. Still supporting with these gluteus medius and minimus. How is your side doing? All right, from here, kick the whole thing back. This is gluteus maximus here. Whole thing back. Whole thigh back. Whole thigh back. Whole thigh back. Whole thigh back. How's your pelvic floor and your Pilates scoop? Whole thigh back. Don't let your hip go. Keep your tightness in the front. Whole thigh back. Whole thigh back. And take that knee down to the floor. Tap it out. Those are gluteus medius and minimus. Let's switch sides. Do, 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 do. You can lift up on that elbow, or you can put the arm down with the elbow forward like a pillow. Yes, and you can lift your waist up here. Thighs are aligned to start. Hip sockets are aligned, and we're going to straighten that top leg. Lift it and a lower. Lift it and a lower. Don't be afraid to look down or to touch. Remember earlier we were talking about that rectangle of your torso? That would apply here. Look down, make sure your top leg is not straying forward. Or here's the other way we cheat. You can rock this whole hip. Actually feels like a nice massage on your bottom hip when you do that. So I don't want you to rock the whole hip. I want your hip and torso to stay nice and still, and the leg lowers over here by itself. So we're just isolating. If you go too far back, you'll feel it in your tensor fasciae latae, which are a set of muscles that are sort of in between your hip flexors and your side of your hip. So make sure you're not falling back nor forward, right on the line. How's your pelvic floor? Can you lift it more? How about a circle? We circle that leg. Circle that leg. Keep pulling up through your torso. Shoulders are back. Body is long. Keep pulling in and up through your torso. Body is long. La 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 la. La 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 la. All right, Muppets, let's kick that leg back and extend it. And leg back in, extend it. Leg back in, extend it. Are your knee and toe still forward? Looking over your shoulder. Is your heel dropping down or up? We want to keep it parallel to the floor. All right, whole leg kicks back. Don't change your back. Keep your tummy lifting in and your abdominis is supporting. Thigh goes back. Holding it, no slack. Using your gluteus maximus. All right, drop it down. Oh, excellent time. Okay. I'm running our checklist in our head. We did a lot of the things on your final. That's excellent. All right, let's do a little breakdown. Onto our backs for closing. And we're going to start with neck rolls. So we'll go ahead, articulate the spine, neck, shoulders coming up. We're gonna pat the floor. We're gonna pull it in. We'll go right leg and in, left leg and down. Touching your toe to the ground. Check your Pilates scoop and pelvic floor. Can you lift your shoulders more? We're going for a little gusto at the end here, and legs come up. Bicycle in the air. Keep pulling up your lower body. Bring those legs up in the air, and we'll bring both knees in for double leg stretch. We're sending legs on up. This is another opportunity to talk about how to make an exercise more difficult. So if your legs are going straight up in the air, this is the regular version. Intermediate is just past the hips. Advanced would be down here, but then we might lose our cores. So it's way more effective to keep your legs up above you. Double leg stretch. We're going to bend the thighs into the chest, and we're going to send them out. And in and not out. And in and not out. And in and out. And head, neck, shoulders down. Roll on up. Grab those feet, take your knees out wide and lean forward, opening up your hip sockets. Sneak your fingers forward. Rise back up, knees together. Slide those legs out, flex your feet nice and parallel, straight lifted backs, and we'll go through a teaser. So we'll go head, neck, shoulders come apart. Make sure your arms are still parallel and reaching. Shoulders come back and neck and chin. Roll down from the bottom of your spine, articulating down, pulling up and in as you zip it up. Ribs stay together as your arms travel up. And then they come above your shoulders again, and we go head and neck and shoulders. Okay, right here, you're going to feel the urge to throw your body forward. I want you instead to zip in. Imagine you're rolling yourself up like a yoga mat as you come to upright and head and neck and shoulders. And rise back, upright, shoulder blades together, roll it down. A 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a, keep those arms going. Keep your body tight, you're pulling up through your torso. Head, neck, and shoulders are following your arms. We're going head and neck and shoulders, roll it up all the way. Next version, we're pulling knees in. We're rolling down, a 2, a 3 and a 4 and a. Bring your thighs to your chest with your shoulders still up and send them out. Double straight leg stretch with your arms above your head and pull it back to your body. Lift it up, roll like a ball. Whoop, and send your legs out to your pike and pull them back in. We're rolling down, a 2, a 3 and a 4. Your knees come in. Extend it out, double leg stretch. This is the teaser. You can do it. Pull your legs in, roll like a ball to come up and send it out, pike and put it down and stretch forward over those parallel legs. Good job, good job. And come on up. We're going to stretch your quads. Go ahead and tuck one leg back. In fact, let's do this the square way. So we're going to come up on our knees. We're going to step forward with one foot. Let's say your left leg. We're going to square those hips, tuck them underneath neutral spine, and shift forward till you feel these hip flexors moving. If you don't feel the hip flexors moving, you might be doing this. Shift forward. We don't want to do that. We want to think about the tailbone coming underneath and through. So you're opening up that thigh. Hips are square. I'm definitely using my hands to help give myself some feedback. And scoot your feet towards this forward section. We don't want this knee to be passing that heel. It kind of changes the way the stretch works. So keep that front foot forward, tucking underneath, and breathe into that stretch. You don't want to feel a sharp pain, but if you feel discomfort, and especially if you feel that feeling like, oh, I don't want to do this, that's probably a good sign that you're somewhere where you could use some work. That's certainly how I feel in this stretch. Like, can we just do something else? Let that quad and your hip flexors open up. Remember, our long psoas means less strain on the lower back. So holding your transversus abdominis in, having a long psoas, so there's less pulling forward, helps us to be able to maintain a neutral spine or a 12 o'clock spine, and those both give more space and therefore less impact on the lower back muscles. All right, let's switch sides. Dun, dun, dun. We're gonna square those hips, we're gonna tuck them underneath, and we're gonna shift our weight forward. So I like to think about if you had a big long husky tail, you know, like a floofy tail, you grab that floofy tail and you pull the tailbone underneath. Square it off and find your breath. All right, friends, we did lots of anatomy review today. Thank you for your patience with our difficult sound scenario, but I hope that it gave us a chance to dive in a little bit deeper to our functional anatomy. And with that said, I will see you next week. Because it is the last week of semester, I am encouraging everyone to wear sparkles next week. whether that be for any holiday or just because glitter, sparkly things are fun. But I think it helps to have a little lift before finals. So next week, Sparkles Week! Hooray! Dun, 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 dun. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Jaden. I'm going to pop right out quickly here because apparently I need to reboot my computer. Thank you, Jaden. I will see you guys soon. Right.